Hey guys, I'm Roshman, and I do data analysis for LOL Builder. And usually I write articles, but today this is my first video. I thought the topic really was more suited for a video. And what we're going to be talking about today is Lee Sin's jungle pattern and how to avoid giving up first blood in the early game and getting behind. So let's just get right into it. What you're seeing on the screen here is, it looks a lot like Summoner's Rift, right? Well, it's actually, each point represents a kill that Lee Sin has gotten in our roughly 45 to 46,000 games that we have of Lee Sin jungle. And it looks like Summoner's Rift because we're not subsetting this data by time at all. So at any point in time, he's getting kills anywhere on the map, and it looks like this. I'm showing you this because it kind of establishes a baseline for what we're going to be looking at when I start subsetting things. So when I wanted to look at Lee Sin's jungle patterns, the first thing I want to look at is in the early game, the first 5 minutes, that's what we're seeing here. Where does Lee Sin get most of his kills? So the bottom axis here is time, the number of seconds into the game. You see there's not a whole lot of kills going on in the first, before the first buff spawns at about 1:15 here. And then the most important thing that we see is this huge spike here, right here. And this window of kills, because again, let me just make sure you know, the height of the bar here represents the number of times that Lee Sin has gotten a kill at this point in time of the game, second-wise. So this huge spike represents the most deadly time for a person on the other team of the Lee Sin. And so now that we know where he's getting most of his kills, because this is a significant spike compared to everything else, we kind of want to know why does that happen? Well, I mean, if you look at the time period, this is about between 200 seconds and 236 seconds, which corresponds to basically 3 minute 20 second mark and 4 minutes. That's right after when Lee Sin gets his second buff. He's going to go for a gank. So now that I know that, I kind of wanted to know, okay, based on his team, which buffs does he start? Where does he go in the jungle? Where can I expect him to be? So I've got this other graph here. I'm going to kill the webcam so you can see this. This is a graph showing which buffs Lee Sin actually kills first and second. So again, we're looking at time down here. The buffs spawn at 1:15. The earliest time that he kills a buff is at 1:19. So that's only like 4 seconds after the buff spawns. But you see a really tight window here. This is about a 10-second window where he's killing the buffs. And the bottom graph here is when he's on the purple team, and the top graph here is when he's on the blue team. So that being said, the bar height is, again, representing the number of times that he kills a buff, and the color represents which buff that is. So if he's on the blue team, you see a lot of red here because he starts red most of the time. If he's on the purple team, he starts the blue buff most of the time. And just to clarify that for you, that means that no matter which side of the team he's on, he starts in the bottom jungle buff, where the AD carry and the support can leash for him. So knowing that, we move on to the second buff. We see a larger range of time period where this second buff dies. It is a larger range, but in reality, this is like only about a 20-second window where most of the time he gets killed. So that's really not a huge gap in time in reality, 20 seconds. So we can pretty much just assume that the second buff gets killed about the 3 minute mark. That's 181 seconds right here where I'm hovering at. So now that we know that when the second buff dies, and that we know that which buff he's going to, where he's going to be in the jungle depending on which team he is, and where he's most deadly as far as time is concerned, now we can start to look back at this map. Let's say, okay, let's subset this data to now look at, okay, depending on which team he's on, we're going to subset to only look at the team and the time period where he's most deadly and where those kills happen. So let's just start with when he's on the blue team, the bottom left team. This is only kills that happen between that 3 minute 20 second mark and the 4 minute mark, right? So I mean, straight away, let me just kill the webcam again. Straight away, you can notice there's a lot more dots up in the top side of the map than there are in the bottom side of the map. And that's basically because Lee Sin starts at the red buff down here, he clears another camp, he clears the blue buff, and now we're at 3 minute mark. He goes for either the top lane or the bottom lane because those are the closest lanes to where he last was. And so, let's just go look at the purple side. When he's on purple side, if he starts at the blue buff, it's the same thing. And that's because he starts in the bottom jungle, kills the blue buff, moves into the other jungle, kills the red buff, and then at 3 minutes he goes for the middle lane or the top lane. There's just not a whole lot of times that he goes down here and kills somebody. So with that being said, I'll just show you really quickly if he starts, again, we're looking at purple side. Let's say if he started at the red buff, you see the opposite effect. There's a lot less dots here, though, because most of the time he doesn't start at the red buff when he's on the purple side. But if he does, you're going to see him gank at that 3 minute 20-second mark. You're going to see him gank the bottom lane or the middle lane. So, and then, again, let's just show the blue side just for completeness. Again, this is when he starts the red buff down here. If he starts the blue buff when he's on the blue side, starts up here, you see he ganks mid lane and he ganks the bottom lane. So, now that we know this information, how can we use it? Okay, I'll tell you how I used it. I played about 10 games in the last day or two, and 3 of those games were against Lee Sin. So what I did is before the game started, I told my teammates, I said, look, we're against Lee Sin. I do this data analysis stuff. He's going to gank you probably at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, or between 3 minutes, 20 seconds, and 4 minutes. You have a trinket ward that lasts 1 minute, so if you want to cover that, ward before that time period. So I told him that while we're preparing for the buffs. And right at 3:05, I pinged like top lane, and I pinged the middle lane. I said, ward now, Lee Sin's coming to gank you. They warded at 3:05, and right on time, Lee Sin shows up for the gank, pops right up on their ward, they avoid the gank, and they don't get killed. And this happened all 3 times. He showed up right on time. He was there. So you can see how powerful this information is. And what's really funny is in the 3rd game that I did this, I told the guy, he said, how do you know this? I said, oh, I do data analysis. This is what the data has told me. And at 3:05, I told him, ping. I said, ward. Lee Sin's coming to gank you. Sure enough, 3 seconds later, Lee Sin was there right after he warded. He avoided the gank. And the guy, he types to me, he says, are you hacking? I was like, no, but it's just, this is what happened. So that concludes pretty much the presentation. And what I wanted to say last is that I'm going to be doing a stream on Thursday night, October 30th, which, depending on when this video posts, is tonight or tomorrow night. And I'm going to play a game or two and then answer any questions anybody has about this data and data stuff in general or anything about the game. And my Twitch channel is twitch.tv/TheRocheMan. I'll put it in the description, and I hope to see you guys there.